um, cement in between the stones to strengthen it. And that's what the way it is today. It looks pretty nice out there now. The roof that we had put on there in the late 70s didn't last very long. It wasn't done very well. So, which was partly our fault for letting the people select the men who did the roof. They didn't do a good job. So we raised some more money, and now we have a very high-end roof, a very durable roof up here. That's wood, the way it was in the old days. And as far as you wanted to hear about how things were back in the 70s, I told you it was, barely standing in the 70s and needed a lot of physical work. But since the 70s, we've advanced to the point where you have heat in here today. We got a grant. We, raised the money and had a gas furnace installed for this floor and one floor above.
So there had never been heat here before, right? The heat
There was a baseboard electric heat that never worked well, and I wasn't involved in the.
But before 1977, the old.
Oh no, that's right. Yeah.
Your heat would have come from your fireplaces.
Yeah. And the fire. Thanks for mentioning that. The fireplaces, there were 4 of them, and there's still 4 of them, but they're closed off. They're not useful. And then just continuing though on the climate business, climate control, for the newer part, we have an air conditioner in this building also, which is on the top floor, up in the attic area, and it air conditions that floor and the floor beneath it. So the 4 floors, we have 2 with heat and 2 with air, because heat rises and the air drops. So we didn't have to put both in all floors. I can't think of anything else regarding the old days.
Well, the one thing that we have that they probably didn't have is the bridge, the footbridge.
Oh yeah, that got put in the 80s, yeah. And it was kind of tough going back and forth across that creek before we got the bridge. And we're trying to make sure that stays there too. Although in big storms, this Darby Creek just floods big time. Maybe you know it. Maybe you've seen it. But it floods up into the meadow, and it gives the bridge a hard time. But it's held up pretty well. And the bridge that Doug talked about out here, it was there in 1861?
1811.
11? Has been restored recently. You know this probably. The state hired a contractor to restore the bridge, and they did a beautiful job. But it's basically, hi, sir.
Go ahead. I have a question when you're done.
Okay, go.
2 questions.
Okay.
When you came in, did you see any evidence that there might have been cast iron stoves with a pipe in any of the in front of any of the fireplaces?
I have no recollection of anything like that. You?
I know. I wasn't there.
No.
I was a baby.
Second question.
Of course, we have a cast iron stove up there now.
Yeah, I was thinking of the kind of the families in the latter part of the century might have cooked for themselves on, with this pipe going into the chimney right in their
Yeah.
room. I've always been curious about, because none of those fireplaces are cooking fireplaces.
Right.
We don't have evidence of what the kitchen really was, because the old kitchen is not a cooking fireplace. It was
That's
just
right.
made to look like a kitchen, but it
Yeah.
probably was not.
Yeah.
So it was either in another building, and it wasn't common in the north to have an exterior common kitchen. That was more a southern thing.
Right.
I just was wondering, at some point in the century, those little cast iron stoves that they could have cooked on would have been in each apartment.
I would guess you're right, but we saw no evidence of that at all.
And second question, did you find anything really cool and interesting when you got into the house, like these old things that were left here
Well,
or anything?
we did appreciate the stonework in this building, because without the great stonework, it wouldn't be here.
But you didn't find artifacts of
No.
people's lives. I mean, I realize the Harrisons used it and their servants were in here or whatever, but I just wondered if, when I always thought, wouldn't it be neat to open up an old building and find some really neat thing, like somebody's letters, or, anything.
Right.
I wondered if you found
We
it.
didn't come across anything like that. We've done digs around here, though.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And
you found
we've
stuff
come up with pottery and glass and nails.
And we know where the outhouse was.
Yeah. Yes.
It was just off the corner of the outhouse.